Welcome to the Wednesday, July 17th, 2024 meeting of the Gloucester Conservation Commission. The time is 5:31. As the amendments to the open meeting law allow, the Conservation Commission may continue to hold meetings remotely. Adequate alternative access to the meetings is provided through the Zoom link. Apologize for the confusion to anybody out there. It's been confusing for some of the commissioners as well. We've had some technical difficulties at City Hall, so hopefully kinks will be worked out. And in the meantime, continue to check the updated agendas and calendar for the city, and that'll have the correct meeting location or Zoom information. I'll start with a roll call of commissioners present. Member Sharp here. Member Cook.
Here.
Member Gretel. Member Sargent.
Here.
Member Thierry.
Here.
Member Bella.
Here.
And Member Jackson.
Here.
Okay, you do have any quorum present.
All right. First up will be administrative briefing. Anything to chat about in that block, Chuck?
It looks like we have Member Charpentier just joining us. Other than that, we do have a couple continuations. There's some iterations of the agenda, so I'm not sure exactly when things did not get added. I'll run through a couple of those up the top here. So NOI 0282981 for 139 Mingersheek Road. They have requested to continue to August 7th, 2024. NOI 0282968 for 22 Raven Lane. They've also requested to continue to August 7th, 2024. NOI 0282976 for 171 and 281 Rear Magnolia has requested to continue to August 7th, 2024. And NOI 0283005 for 4 River Road has requested to continue to August 21st, 2024.
Okay. Next up would be anything else to add to the administrative briefing there, Chuck?
Nothing at this time. No.
Okay. Moving along. We'll go into the public comment period. This is the period where people from the public are welcome to speak on conservation issues that are not, I repeat, not on tonight's agenda. If you would like to comment, you can do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Let's see, we currently have 17 attendees and 1 hand up. John Judd.
Thank you, members of the commission. For the record, John Judd. I'm an engineer with Gateway Consultants, and this is an item that is not on the agenda tonight, but it is something we've been trying to resolve for a property that's going to be coming before you. What I'd like to do, Chuck, is give a very brief presentation on my question, if I could share my screen and just show you one illustration.
Is this for the elevation?
I'm sorry, this is
Just regarding the ACEC elevation?
Yes.
Okay, we will be discussing it for a project that will be coming up later this evening, but if the commission would like, we can hear John has to say now about this.
It's a different site, but it is something that we've been, obviously, as you know, trying to get some resolution on from the commissioners. So if we could, just a brief presentation.
That's fine. Keep it brief, please.
About John Ballast.
Go ahead, Mr. Judd.
He's promoting the panelist so he can share his screen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you. I've been promoted to a panelist. I'm just going to share briefly my screen. And let me know if you can see what I'm showing.
Elevation of 9.2.
Okay, all right. So very briefly, this is the site. Whoops, sorry about that. This is the site here known as 91 Wingershik Road, which is just up the street from the one you'll be discussing later on at 105. I think that's a little bit further down here. So what we're trying to do is get a sewage disposal system approved from the Board of Health, and we're trying to resolve this ACEC boundary issue, which is going to come up again on other sites, and it has come up in the past. And I think Mr. Sargent's aware of it, and I'm not sure if the other members are aware of it. ACEC is the area of critical environmental concern associated with Farm Creek. The way it's mapped on the GIS maps, and this is the way it's shown. This hatch line right here, if you will. And it's based on elevation 10 by your own ordinance, based on the NGVD 1929 datum. As you know, all the datum right now is based on NAVD 1988, which is the current FEMA datum. And that equates to the NAVD, the elevation 10 equates to this elevation right here, which is 9.2. It's about 0.8 lower than elevation 10 on the old datum. So your regulations require a 200-foot setback from the elevation 10 and NGVD 1929, and that again equates to elevation 9.2. What we're trying to do is get resolution on that definition. Chuck, you may have some comments on this, and Mr. Sargent, but we're just trying to get this thing resolved. Not any luck with the state. They basically put it back on the local boards to make the decision. So we're just trying to get that resolved.
What exactly is what are you trying to get resolved?
We're trying to get resolved the definition of the ACEC, that it is in fact elevation 9.2 on the current datum, which equates to elevation 10 on the old datum, which when this ACEC was established in 1979, the governor promulgated that back in 1979, and it was based on elevation 10, the definition on the old datum, which is the 1929 datum. The new datum came into effect in 2014.
All right. Chuck, anything to add to that?
I do have many things that I can add. I guess the issue right now is that I don't know that we should necessarily be discussing a delineation for a project that is not before the commission. I believe that they should either submit an NOI or an ANRAD to talk about that specific one. There might be some other issues with that delineation. And we will be talking about it later with 105 and 107 Wingershik. But basically, from my understanding, it is not specified in the bylaw, the datum, and there's definitely a question about what the appropriate datum is. It's not as cut and dry as Mr. Judd, I believe, is making sound.
Okay. All right, Mr. Judd, thanks for that information. We'll think about it, and also obviously it's going to come up on a couple other projects. So if you don't mind, we're going to continue on unless you have something else to add briefly.
Nope. Thank you for the time, and that's what we'll do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we covered public comment. Anyone else in the public wish to speak? Chuck, any other hands up?
Just a check. We do not have any other hands up at this time.
Okay, so next up would be minutes for review and approval. These are the June 26th minutes at 2024. We obviously have a quorum, so why don't we move that?
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the Conservation Commission meeting minutes of June 26, 2024 as amended.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Gradwell.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Terry.
Yes.
Member Bella.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
I guess also let the record show that Member Gradwell has joined us.
Excellent. Okay. Next up is continued business. Notice of intent 0282950. is this on? I don't have my, again, I'm all confused here with it. Does this continue, Chuck?
I had not heard a response on that from Joel, but he is here tonight with his hand up, so we can promote him.
Here we go.
He
For
can
the
give us-
record, Commissioner Cook is recusing.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Pavaza, can you hear us?
I can, thank you. Good evening. For the record, my name is Joel Pavaza. I'm an attorney at Seaside Legal Solutions with an address of 123 Main Street here on behalf of Upper Banjo LLC. Just going to give you a quick update. We had a conference call a few weeks back with Chuck and our third-party reviewer, or rather your third-party reviewer, and we took back a considerable amount of notes and suggestions back to the project engineer, and they are working through those changes regarding the issues or questions raised by the third-party reviewer. So we don't have anything new to submit tonight, but I just wanted to get on here and let you know that we haven't forgotten about you and that we are taking the comments we received seriously and trying to incorporate them as best we can. And that's all I have for tonight.
Do you have a date you'd like to continue to?
Let's go for a month.
So it'll be the beginning of the 24th of August.
That'd be great.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282950 at 160, 158R, and 154A Essex Avenue to the meeting of August, what was that?
It should be the 21st.
23rd,
21st.
2024.
21st.
21st.
21st. All right,
Yes.
sorry.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Secretary.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Member Godwall.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Terry.
Yes.
Member Gullah.
Yes. Okay, we'll see you in a bit.
Thank you.
For the record, Commissioner Cook has returned.
Next up would be notice of intent, 291, 139 Wingacheek Road. Ernest Herman, removal of unpermitted boardwalk, revegetating portions of pre-existing paths and coastal dune, land subject to coastal storm flowage, coastal beach, land containing shellfish, Mary Rimmer Environmental Consulting LLC represent.
They have requested to continue to meeting of August 7th, 2024.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282981 at 139 Wingacheek Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of August 7th, 2024.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Carpenter.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Godwall.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Terry.
Yes.
Member Gullah.
Yes,
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
okay. Next up is extension 0282784, 167 Atlantic Street, Lot 3. Michael Hannon, construction of a single-family home, utilities, septic system, driveway, landscaping, and as part of a three-lot subdivision in riverfront area. Buffer zone to BBW, salt marsh, and land subject to coastal storm flowage as well. Jesse B. Schomer representing.
He and Chris Bradges are both promoting the panelists now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Jesse Schomer representing 167 Atlantic Street LLC. My office is the law offices of Dane Torpy, located at 175 Federal Street in Boston. With me tonight, Mr. Chair, are representatives from the ownership. Michael Hannon is on the line tonight. I don't see him as a panelist, but he's available for any questions if the commissioners have any. Also present tonight, Mr. Chair, is Chris Barages of Williamson Barages, the civil engineers of record for the project. If I may, Mr. Chair, I have just a couple of brief updates since the last time we were together back in June regarding the status of this project. And Chris is available to present an additional plan that he has submitted last month, providing some background to the commissioners regarding the minor project modifications since we were last before you for these approvals. But as the commissioners may recall, this project was previously pending before you last month on June the 5th, I believe it was, for extension permits for 167 Atlantic Street, lots 1, 2, and 3. And those correspond to DEP file numbers 028-2785, 028-2784, and 028-2801. On June the 5th, the commissioners approved the extension permit that was requested for Lot 1, but you deferred your determination regarding the extension of Lots 2 and Lots 3 because you wanted some additional information regarding minor changes to those lots, as well as awaiting the outcome of an application to the Board of Health for a variance from the Board of Health's local rules and regulations with respect to the siting of septic system for Lot 2 and 3. On June the 19th, Chris Barajas submitted a letter explaining the project changes as well as an updated plan showing what's been revised since these houses were approved by the commission. And last week on Wednesday, July the 17th, we appeared before the Board of Health, and I say we loosely. Chris Barajas did all of the heavy lifting on that. He presented the application of the applicant for the variance that I mentioned previously, which was to allow for a shared septic system for lots 2 and 3. The reason for the variance that was required from the Board of Health's local rules and regulations, though not from any Title V rules, was because the local regulations of the Board of Health require a 200-foot horizontal buffer zone between the leach field that was proposed for the two-lot shared system, whereas we were proposing 167 feet of the buffer zone. That buffer zone was from the land subject to coastal storm flowage resource area, and the proposed system was proposed to be 167 feet away horizontally, as well as the bottom of that system being 7.5 feet vertically elevated above that resource area. On July 17th, after a series of questions from the Board of Health members, they did vote to unanimously approve the application for the variance. So the project has now received the approval and then go forward from the Board of Health for the shared system with the leach field located within the 200-foot buffer from the land subject to coastal storm flowage. I would note that the Board of Health during their hearing last week commended the applicant and Mr. Barajas' office in particular for working with the Board of Health over the course of months, if not years, on refining the system. And as a result, they felt that the final system that they approved last week would provide a greater level of protection than the two lots systems that were previously approved by this commission, and the single lot of which the Board of Health had previously approved. The application that Mr. Barajas has provided for your consideration with respect to the project changes outline what is being proposed now and what the Board of Health has now effectively approved. I'll give you just the broad strokes and then turn it over to Chris to go into the details of his plan. But essentially, the applicant's position with respect to the project changes are that they're minor, de minimis, and fall under the approvals that the Commission has already granted. Specifically, they entail the consolidation of the two septic systems into one system. And with the greater protection in the view of the Board of Health, we feel that this is a significant improvement over the condition that the Commission has already approved for this site. And therefore, we would request that this be approved as a minor modification of the existing orders of conditions without need for an amendment of those orders. In addition, as the commissioners know, we have requested formally the extension of the two orders of conditions for lots 2 and 3, and we request that those be issued tonight. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll pause, and if any of the commissioners have questions for me, I'm happy to entertain those, but barring that, I'll turn things over to Chris for his presentation.
Okay, thank you, sir. So why don't I open up for public comment first? Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 167 Atlantic Street, lots, I'm assuming 1 and 2, correct? Or just 2?
It's actually 2 and 3. The lot 1 has already been approved for the extension permit.
If anybody wishes to speak for or against this project, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
Mr. Chair, do we want to allow Mr. Spragus to speak before we open up to the public comment?
That's fine. I don't care if you want it that way.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep. Address
Okay,
the record.
thank you. For the record, my name is Chris Sparagus from the Engineering and Survey Office of Williams and Sparagus. It's good to see the members again. I think everyone except Mr. Viteri were on the commission back when we approved this plan set back in 2021. So it's good to see everyone. What we did after the last meeting before the commission, where there were some questions about, geez, what exactly are the changes that were made to lots 2 and 3? We prepared a very simple letter summarizing the changes. We submitted it to the Conservation Commission office back on June 19th. And with your permission, I'd like to just share my screen and show you 2 very simple figures that do a nice job summarizing the changes. So I will bring them up. They are figures 1 and 2, which we described and included in our letter of June 19th. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. This is our figure 1, but before I do that, lot 2 is on the left-hand side of the page and lot 3 is on the right. You can see the proposed home site here on lot 2 and the proposed home site on lot 3. What I've done is I've superimposed the approved planting plan, which was very extensive. So you can see all the landscaping between the lots, behind the homes and what have you. And what we did was we characterized the changes as below ground changes and above ground changes. And so for the below ground changes, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. I've highlighted the changes here in a couple of different colors. And most notably, we are removing the leaching field. So the things that we are removing are shown in the pink color, the red color. We're removing the leaching field for lot 3, the septic tank, and the pump chamber. So those are being removed from the plan because they're not needed anymore. And instead, all we're doing is extending the sewer pipe, which serves the building for lot 3. This is the green line, and it comes over onto lot 2 into the septic tank that's going to be shared between the 2 lots now. And then the only other changes on lot 2 involve the septic tank and the pump chamber, which have been increased in size slightly to accommodate the combined flow between the 2 homes. So that's the extent of the below ground changes. And then for the above ground changes, before I go over to figure 2, which shows the above ground changes, I'd like to just point out the way the proposed grading is shown on this plan. This is the currently approved plan, and it shows the leaching field as a relatively flat area here. And you can see on the downhill side, we have a slope that's a little bit on the steeper side. This is a 3-to-1 slope between elevation 18 and 16. And what you'll see when I present the next figure, all we've done is we've eliminated this plateau and just created a more gentle slope between the 2 lots. This slope here has been lessened. You'll see that as I zoom out. And then we'll flip over to our sheet figure 2 here. You can see I've highlighted the new contours, and still showing the old location of the leaching field on lot 3. And you can see that that the slope here is a little bit less steep than it was before. And these minor grading changes between the lots only accommodate the proposed building sewer, making sure that we have enough cover over that pipe as we're coming across here. That's the extent of the grading changes and the above ground changes. And it's really important to note that none of these grading changes affect the proposed planting plan, which, as you recall, many of the members had a lot of input on. And so we didn't have to change any of the proposed plantings on this plan. And So in summary, as far as the changes are concerned, back to figure one, what we've done is we've actually moved elements further away from the resource areas, which are out in the back here. So all of these underground septic system elements have been moved further away from the wetland resources.
Okay,
So, Mr. Chairman, that summarizes the changes to the plans. I'll stop sharing. If you'd like, I can get rid of the plan and come back to you, and I can answer any questions that the commission has. Thank you.
okay, again, I'm gonna, unless Chuck, you're gonna stop me again. I'm gonna open it for public comment. Anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 167 Atlantic Street, may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, or hitting *9 on your phone or handout device.
We currently have 22 attendees and one hand up at the moment, Robert Bishop.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Robert Bishop, 176 Atlantic Street. I'm a direct abutter across the street from this project, and I was at the Board of Health meeting last week, and obviously I'm opposed to what they decide and approved as far as the variance. 200 feet, variance means 200 feet, especially with the clam flats, you know, so on and so forth, water rising. But I do want to confirm one thing with Chris. At the Board of Health meeting, they did show a single family home at lot number 2, but the map I just saw, Chris, I'm not sure if it's outdated. It still shows the duplex. So I apologize for my dog. Sorry about that. So that was my big question to you, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair.
First off, is there anyone else with their hand up, Chuck?
No other hands up at this time.
Okay, yep. Ms. Paragas, you can respond.
Sure, thank you. Just to, through you, Mr. Chair, just to answer the question of Mr. Bishop. The figures that we presented in the letter that explain the changes simply showed the previously approved plan so that we can show you what it looked like and how it was changing. But the actual plan that the Board of Health recently approved, which is the shared system plan, does show 2 single-family homes. So we've actually reduced the scope of the project in terms of septic flow from 9 bedrooms, and we're down to 6 bedrooms now between the two homes, 2 3-bedroom homes. So there's not a duplex anymore, to answer the question. Thank you.
All right, why don't we go to Commissioner roll call comments, Chuck?
Yep, Member Secretary.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the changes. I'm just always concerned that we continue to put everything into the buffer zone.
Okay, yeah, I've got 2 issues. One is on tonight's agenda, we can just approve the extensions. And at the last meeting, we had said we wanted to wait to see how the Board of Health went before we had time to extend it. So personally, I don't have a problem with granting the extensions for lots 2 and lot 3, I believe it is. That being said, the amendments, I think, require you coming back before us and representing it. I don't think we can do an approval of an amendment to the NOI when we're supposed to be looking at an extension to the agenda.
Or Rebel.
No comment.
Sergeant.
No comment.
Siri.
My only question is the same as Commissioner Cook on the procedural question.
Rebel.
Yeah, my only issue or 2 would be is the procedural question as well. Otherwise, no other comments.
Member Jackson.
Yes, what is your, I have no additional comments. What is your take on that, Chuck?
I believe a lot of these changes are actually outside of our buffer zones and outside of our resource areas. So maybe if Chris could pull that up and show where the buffer zones and resource areas are, you can get a better idea of where these are. So I think as long as they're not affecting anything in our resource areas or buffer zones, they wouldn't require an amendment.
But even though the plans gonna look completely different, I mean, how can we approve an extension and saying, even though it's outside it, that the plans are gonna be look totally different when we have no plans in our
I
file?
believe the portions that are within our jurisdiction have not changed. Is that correct, Mr. Spread?
So I can answer that question. We do have some some of those minor grading changes on the downhill side of the septic system are just inside the buffer zone to the bordering vegetative wetland. The leaching field that was on lot 3 was just outside the buffer zone, but some of the grading was within. And so for us to lessen the steepness of that slope to make it just nice and smooth between the two lots, some of it will go just inside the buffer zone. So what I'm hearing, Mr. Cook, and through you again, Mr. Chair, is that at least a couple of the members would prefer to see us come back with a letter requesting a minor modification to keep it sort of formal.
Yes, for lots 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think that's ideal. First of all, I don't really think we have modifications. If I'm not, we've gone back and forth on this over the years. I think, don't we have to come in under an amendment, Chuck?
I mean, minor modifications aren't a thing under the Wetlands Protection Act, so they don't really mean anything. As far as, you know, they can't be appealed by butters, they can't be, you know, so, you know, it's up to the commission if you feel that these are significant enough changes. You want them to come back with an amendment to the NOI. That's up to you.
Yeah, let's just, I mean, unless any other commissioners had any comments, I think there's a fair majority that wouldn't mind you coming back with a document that squares up some of this for us.
Yeah, I mean, our ordinance has, you know, and I don't know if the procedure is different, but there's at least 2 different line items for fees for an amendment, a minor amendment, an amendment for a major change to an NOI. They're all distinct from an extension. So I do believe it's a different, you know, procedural act to extend versus to amend. I think, you know, we could vote on both at the next meeting if they make the proper filing to get the minor amendment going on, but you know, or they could, you know, we could vote to extend now and, you know, they could bring a minor amendment separately as well. I think they require 2 different actions.
They would, I mean, if they do an amendment, that doesn't necessarily extend the NOI. So
Correct.
they'd still need an extension. So we could vote on the extension this evening and then we could ask them to come back for an
Correct.
amendment. That's how I feel.
Right
More
play.
comfortable with that. Vote on the extension tonight and have them come back in 2 weeks with the minor amendments. To
Is
one.
that okay, gentlemen? This is Paragus, you okay with that?
Yes, I think that would be fine. And I think under your ordinance, you know, there's that specific description of a minor amendment, which we would consider under the state act as a minor modification. And we're happy to put together a very simple letter, very similar to the letter that we've already submitted to you, dated June 19th, formally requesting a minor modification.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the plans updated to show the 2 single-family homes instead of the duplexes.
Absolutely. That plan was also submitted with my June 19th letter, but we'll make sure that it's on the record.
Okay.
Okay, so all that's.
I mean, well, the minor modification is a different thing than a amendment.
Right.
Under the Wetlands Protection Act.
That's right. We're trying to avoid having to do a new public hearing and, you know, that, you know, notice to abutters and all, you know, that there's that's a big deal for us. We just went through it twice with the Board of Health, where these are minor changes just on the fringe of the buffer zone. We're moving significant elements further away from the wetland resource areas. You know, we thought we could do it as a minor modification.
Well, it's up to you. We can vote on it now, or we can just move to continue to the next meeting and you try and, you know, clean up some of these loose ends in whatever direction you want to go, modification, amendment, that's your call.
Well, we just have to vote on the extension tonight. They can
Correct.
make a determination on whether they want to go for a minor modification or an amendment at the next, you know, at the next submittal. But tonight, let's just approve the extensions for them.
Likewise, I think it'd be helpful for the commission to be clear about what you are okay with accepting. If you're okay with accepting a minor modification, that's fine, but I think make it clear this evening so they know what direction they're heading.
This
Yeah, we
is
can vote.
This is Commissioner Jackson. I'm perfectly happy with a minor modification. They are improving things tremendously. And I don't see any need to go through a formal amendment.
I can support that.
Okay,
Want to put this to continue?
Do a
this-
roll call?
Continue the extension?
Gonna do a roll call on that?
Want to
Madam Secretary?
Yes,
Are you okay with a modification rather than a amendment?
rather than, yes.
Okay, number 3.
Chuck, you're a little hard to hear.
Number 2. Are we doing a roll call on whether you guys are okay with a minor modification versus an amendment?
I'm not clear on the difference between the two.
Well,
Sorry.
one is
That makes 2 of us. We're gonna.
one is an official thing under the Wetlands Protection Act. The other is something that we allow that doesn't require butter notification, legal notice, public hearing, you know.
One has
all
more,
of
to-
that.
one doesn't.
and we have, again, Commissioner Jackson, we have allowed minor modifications in many cases. Particularly when the conditions in the resource areas and buffers are being improved rather than changed possibly for the worse.
So which is the one that requires less process, no more?
Minor modification.
Okay.
But you give away, that's all. Give away a lot. Obviously, that's why there's steps. Amendments are a little more difficult to work with. If everybody's okay, let's vote on the amendments. We can deal with, I mean, the
We-
extension.
We haven't gone through everybody, have we?
No, we have not. Member Gradwell. You're muted.
Gradwell has to abstain because I wasn't there last meeting, so it's immaterial.
Member Sergeant.
I'm fine with the minor modification.
Member Tier.
I'm also fine with a minor modification.
Member Gullah.
I'm okay with the minor modification.
And Member Jackson.
As am I, that's fine. Okay.
Okay.
So we can do both tonight,
Well,
No.
or no, or are they coming in next meeting with a minor modification?
you can approve the extensions this evening and then they'll come in with the modifications.
Okay, but we're not closing the public hearing.
I guess you can approve the minor modification too, if you're okay with what's been shown.
I'd like to
Honestly,
see
I
the
am.
documentation.
What was that, Bill?
I'd like to see the plans.
The plans were submitted with the June 19th letter or something.
Well, I think,
I'd like to just do the extension.
yeah, I think we should just do the extension.
Okay, okay. All right, so Chuck, I can do the extension without closing the hearing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't.
Come on, Chuck.
I think you have to close the hearing on
I think-
the extensions.
close the hearing on the extension.
But then we have to reopen the hearing, and doesn't that require what the things they were trying to avoid?
But it's not an amendment. It's not an official.
Okay, so it doesn't. Okay. All right. So the applicant is okay with me closing the public hearing?
We're fine with that.
right.
Technically, neither of these will be public hearings. This is just a discussion by the commission in a public meeting. But we would agree with the course of action that you all have indicated tonight, that you would vote on the request for extensions, and then Mr. Sparages after tonight would submit the request for minor modification and be before you next month.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. All right, Commissioner Jackson moves to approve extension 0282784 at 167 Atlantic Street, Lot 3. Is this a one-year extension?
We were requesting a 3-year extension similar to lot 1.
Okay, for a 3-year extension.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
abstain,
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Siri,
Yes.
Member Villa,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve extension 0282801 at 167 Atlantic Street, Lot 2 for a period of 3 years.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
abstain,
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Villa,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, gentlemen, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
Okay, next up, we have, it's Raven Lane, correct, Chuck? That's where we're at.
Yes.
We need to continue it, but that's where we're at in the agenda tonight, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. Okay, so we're moving to continue the next 3, I think, correct? Okay,
Let's take them one at a time.
got it.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282968 at 22 Raven Lane to the meeting of August 7th, 2024.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Yes.
Gradwell,
yes,
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Villa,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, notice of intent, 0282976-171 and 281R Magnolia Avenue, Howmag LLC, construction. I don't have to go through all that, do I still? Do I have to list everything? I thought I was able not to have to do this.
Oh,
Notice of intent, 0282976-171 and 281R Magnolia Avenue, Howmag LLC, construction of 26-unit residential subdivision, riverfront area, and buffer zone bordering vegetative wetland. Evan Gavendarin, representing DeRosa Environmental Consulting Inc., has requested a continuation.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282976 at 171 and 281 Rear Magnolia Avenue to the Conservation Commission meeting of August 7th, 2024.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
yes,
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Villa,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, notice of intent, 0283005 Four River Road, Stumpy Hayes, Four River Road LLC, to raise and rebuild a single-family home, construction of an addition, pervious paver driveway, walkway, and retaining wall in riverfront and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Bill Manuel Wetlands and Land Management, Inc., representing. I believe we're continuing this as well, correct?
Yes, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0283005 at Four River Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of August 21st, 2024.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
yes,
Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Villa,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. I'm assuming this next one, did we get a DP number for 78 High Popples?
We did. It's 0283010.
Good evening, Bill Manuel from Wetlands and Land Management. Very briefly, this was a small landscape project, creating a living border between two properties that the applicant owned. We were waiting for a file number. My check got lost and found eventually in Shrewsbury. Instead of heading on down to Boston, they sent it back to me. I sent it back down to Boston. It arrived and we have a file number. So we're hoping to close the hearing tonight. The only question that was presented to me at the last hearing was from Commissioner Cook, asking if we could, despite the trees that were removed were Norway maples, could we add larger trees? I went back to the landscape designer. She said she's already concerned the trees were really overpopulated for that small area. She's already concerned about the existing root mass that's subsurface, and a larger specimen would be more difficult to install and suffer the same effects as the ill-formed and overcrowded Norway maples that they're removing. So she preferred not to put in larger tree specimens and go with the shrubs, the taller perennial shrubs and ground cover.
Okay, well, I still have to open it up to public comment because now it does have a DP number, correct? So does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 78 High Popples at Eagle Road?
We currently have 21 attendees and there are no hands up.
Seeing none, hearing none, close public comment period. Commissioner roll call comments.
Member Charpentier.
No comments.
No comments.
Member Bidwell.
No comment.
Member Sargent.
I'd like a 2-year monitoring for the mortality of mitigation plantings.
Member Lettieri.
No comments.
Member Gola.
No comments.
Member Jackson.
No comments.
Okay.
Okay, and for the record, I did read the minutes for this application, having been absent at the last meeting. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0283010 at 78 High Popples Road and 4 Eagle Road.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call on Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Yes.
Bradwell.
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Member Lettieri.
Yes.
Member Gola.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes, Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0283010 at 78 High Popples Road and 4 Eagle Road with previously set conditions as well as a 2-year monitoring period for the vegetation.
Charpentier seconds.
Call on Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Bradwell.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Lettieri.
Yes.
Gola.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving down the line, we have another extension 0282719, 87R and 89R Wingersheek Road in Davis to raise and rebuild garage, construction of 3 exterior decks, in addition on a single-family home, removal of an existing lawn, and installation of dune restoration plantings within Barrier Beach and coastal dune areas. Abigail Manzi of DeRosa Environmental Consulting representative. Yeah, this is an
We have
extension.
Evan Gavundrian will be joining.
Again, I say this is an extension.
Good evening, Commissioners. Evan Vendran here of DeRosa Environmental. I am here representing an extension request for Miss Ann Davis at 87R, 89R Wingersheek Road. We're requesting a 1-year extension to the project. They haven't started the construction on the garage at this time. They're hoping to start that this fall. So we just need more time to finish the project. Everything else has been constructed, including the dune restoration. If you want me to share photos of the dune, it's looking good.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is the second growing season for our dune restoration. And it's all lush here. You can see it's grown in pretty thickly and densely. the green shows that new growth is coming and it's all established and healthy. This is the stepping stone walking path that was remained. This is the beach and the ocean on the other side at this dune. So you can see this all was, if you remember, it was sort of a volleyball lawn beach area before we took on this dune restoration. So we're really excited about how this turned out and think it looks really good.
Excellent. Okay. Commissioner, do you want roll call comments, Chuck? Commissioner?
Sure. Member Charpentier.
No comments.
No comments.
Member Gradwell.
No comment.
Sergeant.
No comment.
Member Lettieri.
No comments.
Well,
No comment. It does look good.
Member Jackson.
No comment.
Okay.
Okay.
so-
This was not a public hearing, correct? Chuck?
Nope, just an extension.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve extension 0282719 at 87 rear, 89 rear Winger Sheik Road for a period of 1 year.
Charpentier seconds.
Oh, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Gradwell.
Yes.
Member Sergeant.
Yes.
Member Lettieri.
Yes.
Member Bella.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
Next up. I don't even know if there's a DEP number, but I'm going to be recusing on this project.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson's opening the hearing on NOI 028 unassigned DEP number at 21 Winger Sheik Road, Eric Henriksen, for installation of native vegetation, walkway, permeable patio, dog run, and retaining walls in coastal dune and land subject to coastal storm flowage, represented by Cameron Frecker of John's Landscape Service, Inc.
I'm not seeing Cameron listed here. If there's anybody here to represent this project, please raise your hand. Not seeing hands up at this time, and I'm not seeing Cameron listed here, so.
Okay, shall we table it till the end?
Well, it
Or-
doesn't have a DP number anyway, so maybe we should
Right,
just
we have to
continue.
continue it. Okay. Linda, do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, Charpentier moves to continue NOI 028, no DEP number at 21 Winger Sheik Road to the commission meeting of, I guess it's August
August 7th.
Yep.
7th.
Gradwell seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Gradwell.
Yes.
Member Sergeant.
Yes.
Member Lettieri.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Okay. Rob, you back for Adams Hill?
Yeah, actually, I'm recusing from that one as well. Sorry.
All right. Okay, next up is NOI 0283008 at 54 Adams Hill Road, D. Antonio Family Holdings LLC for replacement of granite stairs, expansion of patio, upgrade water and electrical services, installation of retaining wall, expansion of crushed stone parking area in coastal bank, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and buffer zone to coastal resource area, represented by William Manuel, Wetlands and Land Management, Inc.
Hi, good evening. Bill Manuel speaking, Wetlands and Land Management. I'll get right to it and share my screen. So the D'Antonios are relatively new owners of the property, and they are seeking to winterize the place. And they're looking to do certain improvements that would facilitate not only their use of the property, but also really the neighborhood with the shortage of parking really at the end of Adams Hill Road here, especially in the summertime. This is the dwelling, 54 Adams Hill Road. This up here is the small little cul-de-sac or the end of pavement at Adams Hill Road. There are several surrounding properties that use this cul-de-sac or end of pavement for parking. It's pretty tight now. This sort of bluish area is the extent of the existing pavement. We're going to use this opportunity to enhance the parking along the street side, and we're also going to do some improvements to the grounds, install permanent utilities, and upgrade some of the steps that are not only to go into the dwelling, but also these are sort of a community walkway down to Cambridge Beach. So the ocean is out in this direction here. This is on the north side of Annisquam. The ocean is out here. As I said, this is the house. There is no driveway to this property, so folks park up on the street, and the house is basically about 1.5 stories lower below the street grade, and the front door is accessed by coming down a set of steps and then a extremely narrow set of stone steps. I'll zoom in a little bit more. And so Matt Aranio of Aranio Landworks is going to be the for lack of a better term, the stone mason or the stone artisan. The only intrusive part of this project is that they want to upgrade the electric service. It is presently an underground electric service, and they're going to upgrade it so that it can facilitate an electric vehicle charging station, plus be able to supply heat during the winter. And also upgrade the water line, which is a shallow water line for seasonal use, and they want to make it deeper. So they're going to require excavating a trench from the road, the utilities in the road, down to the house over this embankment. This entire coastal bank embankment is armored with large boulders and riprap. That's been done a long time ago, before the owners bought this property. So the excavation is going to have to move that riprap aside, excavate for these utility trenches. We're assuming that since most of this is old grout, that none of it's going to be suitable for backfill, so they will likely live load it as they dig out utility trenches, live load that out. And then when it's time to backfill the trench, they would bring in suitable sandy granular material to backfill the trench, and then replace the riprap that's presently on the ground surface. That's the extent of the intrusive work. There's already an existing stone patio here. It's kind of irregular and rough. They're going to take that up and expand it a little bit, indicated by this symbol here. All of this is going to be a pervious surface now, so no increase of impervious area. This existing timber and stone walkway, stairs and walk that goes not only leads to the house, but also down to Cambridge Beach, that also will be reworked. That definitely needs some maintenance. This spring, the railings on it toppled over, and so it's crying out for some additional work and love and care. That's also going to be a stone feature crafted by Mr. Aranio, and so I'm sure you're all aware of his work here in Cape Ann. And then up by the street, there is we want to expand a little stone apron along the edge of the pavement, and it'll allow the cars to just pull off an additional. It's 5 to 6 feet, 6 feet at the widest point right here, and 5 feet at the narrowest point, about 4.8 feet. And just that small ability to pull off of the road that much further just creates better circulation around this parking area here. So all they're going to do, if you're out there, you see there's a really distinct break and slope. There's a distinct drop off there. We're going to just scrape off the organics and backfill that with crushed stone, and it'll butt right up to the existing pavement. And then we'll put a guardrail in so that nobody wants to drive over the edge. So that's it. This is some of it's deferred maintenance. Some of it is for the benefit of the neighborhood. Some of it is for the benefit of the home. We do show some erosion control down here at the end of the community stairs. Beyond that, basically everything else is in the shadow of the home. The home is between the work and the coastal resource areas on the other side of the home. So, and of course the road work is quite separated and protected by this riprap armored slope. So fairly non-intrusive. You know, once we get past the utility work, everything is really just scraping off the surface and refitting stones and such. We do lose one tree here. There is a big Norway maple that is sort of, the roots are going to be compromised when they do this work. And we figured it's best to take it out now, and we'll put 2 new native trees in. We're selecting this area here because that's going to be disturbed, and we can, you know, put it back maybe off to the side of the utility trenches and, you know, add some additional soil to help the trees grow. So 2 to 1 tree replacement. Fairly simple. We do have a file number 28-3008, and there were no comments from the DEP.
Okay, thank you. I will open this up for public comment and then commissioner comments, at which point you can respond to those comments. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on the project at 54 Adams Hill Road?
Currently have 20 attendees and there are no hands up.
Okay, I'll close the public comment period. We'll move on to commissioner comments.
I just want to know what the native trees are that are going to replace the large Norway maple.
No comments.
No comment.
Sergeant?
Yes, I'd like a 2-year monitoring for the mortality of the mitigation plantings, and any dewatering must be adequately treated before being discharged. And I'm wondering if the stairway or the walkway are being extended or widened, and will all work be from above, or will they need to be accessed from the shore? And will there be any heavy equipment on the beach? Thank you.
Terry?
No comments.
Member Bella?
Excused.
Member Jackson?
No additional comments. Okay, Mr. Manuel.
We haven't really selected what species of native tree, but something in this area. It is fairly windy, I suspect, in the winter time. I prefer to leave that up to a specialist. But they will be native trees, if that's okay with the commission. 2-year monitoring is standard. The stair is not, the community stairs will not be widened. The stairs down to the existing home will be widened. They're about 18 inches wide at this point, and we'd like to make it a little bit wider, like 3 to 4 feet wide. We're working with stone, so it's not a precise measurement, but on the order of 3 to 4 feet wide. And all work is performed from above. There, you can't even get, it would be impossible to get a machine to the beach. So all works from above.
Okay, a couple of follow-up comments. I would like to see whatever trees are selected to, at maturity, provide the same canopy kinds of extent that the Norway maple currently provides. And can you give me any more detail on the stairs to the home? You said you were widening them to 3 to 4 feet. What is currently there now? Are you removing vegetation, or is it through rock, or what?
It's all, the stairs kind of go over the embankment, and it's all that rock. So the stairs would be widened into the existing riprap.
Okay. Right, commissioners, are there any follow-up comments? Okay. Then I will entertain a motion. I think we can go ahead with this. I'll entertain a motion to Close the public hearing.
Carpentier moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0283008 at 54 Adams Road.
Gradwell seconds.
Paul, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
yes,
Member Gradwell,
Yes,
Member Sargent,
yes,
Terry,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Linda, and it is Adams Hill Road.
yep, Charpentier moves to approve NOI 0283008 with the, at 54 Adams Road with the aforementioned conditions of 2-year monitoring of plantings, mitigation plantings, dewatering, and what's the other one? Oh, the canopy of the new trees to match that of the removed Norway maple.
Gradwell seconds.
Paul, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
yes,
Member Gradwell,
Yes,
Member Sargent,
yes,
Member Terry,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes, and I'll work from above. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manuel. You're all set.
Thank you.
Okay, next up. Whoops. Do we have Rob back?
Back,
Mr. Manuel's hanging around. Okay.
and Mr. Gullah has rejoined the commission. So next up is, do we have a DP number for this one, Chuck?
Yeah, it's 0283009.
Okay, next up is notice.
All right, Bill Manuel again from Wetlands and Land Management. This is the Rockaway at Rocky Neck Condominium Trust. Again, I'll share my screen and get right to it. This is another in a probably a long conga line of resiliency projects, especially after the tides and the storms we had this past winter. We saw storm surges and high tides that were higher than anything that a lot of people have ever experienced. To that end, the condominium has again spoken with the Ronio Landworks about repairing their existing seawall. This is the entire condominium development here at 7 Ratcliffe Street. This is on Rocky Neck on the water side, and the harbor's out here. I'll zoom in a little bit to the area of work. It's a lot of plan for a little bit of area of work, but nevertheless very important to the folks at the condominium. There is an existing seawall that goes around an existing wharf. This section took a little bit of a beating and needs some repair. This is a dry stacked granite block wall. It requires the usual maintenance that we see all over Gloucester with these types of walls. We're getting subsidence and loss of earth on the the landward side. It's being pulled out through the wall, and that's because there's nothing to hold it there. There's no crushed stone and filter fabric. So the usual repair involves to excavate behind the wall down to the stable base stones, keeping the wall intact, of course, and then laying in filter fabric and backfilling with crushed stone. The surface, the front, the water side of the wall at low tide will be repaired with the usual chinking, replacing, while the excavation wall's been excavated behind it, the larger stones will be replumbed so that the wall face is vertical, and then rechinking as necessary. But at the end of the day, the wall height doesn't change, the width doesn't change. It just now has crushed stone backing with filter fabric. Tide will approach the wall, basically percolate through it as it does now, but it won't be able to pull the soil out on a receding tide. In an effort to try to address climate change and rising sea levels, the condominium folks would like to install the secondary wall. This is going to be, you can see the grade here is existing grade is 8. And we'd like to raise it at this point, the highest point, to about 10.6, so about 2.6 feet. at this one location, blending into zero at both ends, blending into existing grade. This again will be a dry set wall with, behind it will be filter fabric and crushed stone. There's a detail on the plan. This is the detail for repair of the existing wall with the crushed stone behind it. And then a boulder landscape wall, dry set, crushed stone and filter fabric behind it. This will protect the foundation from, right? Thankfully, the water does not get up to the foundation at this point, but nobody knows what's going to happen. But it's a proactive measure to help protect the foundations of this building here. And all of this occurs within existing lawn area. So I'm sure you'll be seeing many projects like this as the weeks, months, and years go past. But this is an effort to be proactive in the face of rising sea levels and higher tides than we've ever seen before. So we're looking for an order of conditions. The DEP has issued a file number with no comments.
Okay. Anybody want to do roll call, commissioner comment?
Do public hearing.
Public comments, Rob?
I'm sorry, yes, I fell asleep basically on the last project, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's open up to the public. Anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 7 Radcliffe Street may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 18 attendees and there are no hands up.
Okay, commissioner roll call comments then, Chuck.
Member Sharpton's here.
No comments.
Member Cook.
Question is, where behind the stone wall, there's a section where you said you're going to be cutting out the pavement, and then you're going to be regrading. Is that pavement all going to be raised up again? I believe that's the intent, but I want to get some clarification. When you put the stone wall in, you're planning on regrading and raising the whole lawn area, so you're going to be raising part of the asphalt also? I need clarification.
Gravel.
No comment.
Sergeant.
I didn't see any depiction or mention of a coastal bank, and there's a serious disconnect between the narrative and the site plan regarding the boulders at the toe of the existing wall. The site plan states, quote, recover, reset existing boulders along toe of existing wall. I would generally be okay with that condition. The narrative, however, states some new boulders will be brought to the site to augment boulders at the toe of the wall. This appears to be open-ended and might result in newly placed riprap extending onto shellfish habitat and maybe a modification of the Chapter 91 permit. Thank you.
Chuck, I think you mentioned something about in waiting for comments from the Shellfish Constable. So I would ask if those have come in, if we've received any, and if not, I think we continue until we get those comments.
We have not received them yet. Bill?
Further comments?
I'm also concerned about shellfish comments and the possible additional permitting if the boulders at the toe are not covered under Chapter 91.
Anybody else? Everybody spoke? Anything to add, Mr.
Okay.
Manuel?
So yeah, in my efforts to be brief, I know you have a long agenda. Yes, this area, this behind the boulder wall will be regraded and be blended back up to the edge of the foundation. This section of pavement is probably, the elevation is probably going to be modified by a couple of inches at this leading edge. But we didn't want to just bury that pavement, so that we would just cut it. And this is existing grade right here. So that from here back will not change, but from here forward, as I said, you know, basically there's 0 change in grade at this point, and maybe a couple inches change in grade at this point here. We may even just work around that. But I did want to leave open the possibility that if they wanted to just carry that grading back through here, cut it, and then just put this pavement back at the ground surface, the newly graded ground surface. The issue of the boulders here, yes, there are boulders that are along the toe of this wall here. Normally, it's not a big deal, at least in my experience, it's not a big deal if we bring in additional boulders, because the intent is to just armor the toe of this wall, and that's kind of standard operating procedure when we try to repair these walls. It's only intended to be right up against the wall. I have to be honest, I don't know if that would be affected, if that would affect the Chapter 91 license at all. If it's a deal breaker, then we're just going to salvage what we can salvage there and put them back into place. Some of the areas, they're just, you know, there isn't a boulder there and we'd like to put one, but it would just be right up against the existing wall. And I wasn't aware this was sent out for shellfish comments, so apparently you haven't received any. So the commission will have to decide what they want to do there.
Okay. One last round of commissioner comments, or does everyone have what they need at this point to make it?
Will, Mr. Manuel, will you be following up on Chapter 91 questions?
If we need a Chapter 91 license or amendment, or any change to that, I would say that worse, it would be a minor modification, because we're certainly not increasing the footprint of the wharf at all and the wall. Just be toes against it, and in any case, we would need an order of conditions first. So one is sort of independent of the other.
Okay.
Commissioner Sargent notes that Division of Marine Fisheries said it would be okay as long as it's not extended further into the resource area, and adding the boulders, you would be extending further into the resource area. So I believe that's a deal breaker.
Then the commission, I would suggest that you put an order of conditions that no additional stones be brought to the site.
Can you clarify too where these stones are coming from? Because when I was out there, I didn't really see any boulders near that section of the wall. So I guess I'm just kind of curious where these boulders are going to be recovered from that you want to place up against the wall there.
Yeah, we won't be bringing any boulders to the site.
Where are the boulders coming from that you said you want to recover and put against the wall?
There was some boulders, you know, back where the wharf returned out to the, there may have been some disconnect between the contractor and my narrative. So there's obviously no boulders shown in that picture. So just if the commission would condition that no additional toe stones or boulders be brought to the site.
We could, I get the feeling we're moving more towards, there seems to be a lot of loose ends. I think we should possibly move towards a continuation. No?
Well, we're continuing for shellfish comments anyway.
Right.
I have one question too. What is the elevation of the top of the secondary wall, or the higher elevation boulder wall, and how does that compare to the 100-year land subject to coastal storm flowage elevation?
Yeah, the highest point of the landscape wall is 10.6. The V zone extends well beyond that. The base flood elevation called out by FEMA is 20. We don't necessarily go by elevation, we go by the mapped limit of the flood zone, V zone situation, and it's virtually up to Ratcliffe Street. So in a large storm event, this landscape wall and half the neighborhood is already inundated.
Okay. Unless there's any other information to add, I think we have to move to continue. So anything else you want to add, Mr. Manuel, before we move this?
No, we'll just wait for Shellfish comments and hopefully we just close it out very quickly at the next meeting.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0283009 at 7 Ratcliffe Street to the Conservation Commission meeting of August 7th, 2024.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gredwell,
Yes,
Member Sargent,
Yes,
Member Lettieri,
Yes.
Member Bella,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
All right, good luck with the rest of the agenda.
Truly.
Notice, and next up is notice of intent 028. Did these DP numbers drop, Chuck?
Yes, for 105, it is 0283006.
So first up is notice of intent 0283006, 105 Wingasheek Road, 125 Wingasheek LLC, to replace existing single-family home and detached garage with plow-supported single-family home and garage installation of gravel driveway, installation of septic system, water service, coastal dune, and BBW. Joel Pavazza, Seaside Legal Solutions, PC representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Joel Pavazza. I'm an attorney at Seaside Legal Solutions with an address of 123 Main Street in Gloucester. And just as a question at the beginning, would it make sense for the chair to open both public hearings simultaneously and run through the properties together as they're, essentially overlapping rather than going through and going to the performance standards twice, et cetera?
I don't know, Chuck, what do you think?
I mean, they're submitted as two separate NOIs. I think we kind of need to talk about them separately. I think a lot of the issues that we may talk about at one would probably carry over to the next.
Okay, so basically we're gonna take them piece by piece.
Okay. With that, I will share my screen and we'll get this moving. Okay. So the background was that this first came before you in, 2017, and there was a notice of intent filed to replace the existing cottage with one large single-family structure, and that was granted an order of conditions back in 2017. However, the neighbors were concerned about the design of that structure, and so the applicant began working to permit two smaller single-family structures. Addressing those concerns, when we came back to the commission, you sent it out for third-party review to Beals and Thomas. Beals and Thomas sent in some of their own concerns, some questions, and some clarification requested, and the applicant began responding to all of that. And then as we were almost at the end of getting to the Beals and Thomas review, the city council separately and unrelatedly passed a floodplain ordinance that made the location of the proposed structures that had been discussed with this commission no longer viable from a zoning standpoint. So it wasn't there was an issue with the Wetland Protection Act or the Gloucester Wetland Ordinance, but the Gloucester zoning ordinance said those structures to go somewhere different. So we went back to the drawing board and have come back with two single-family structures that incorporate the feedback from the commission, the feedback from Beals and Thomas, And still are proposing less disturbance than was previously permitted by the commission at this site. This is the full team of experts. I feel a little embarrassed I included myself, but I couldn't find a better slide at the very bottom where I belong. But we have Epsilon Associates. Dwight Dunk is here. If he raises his hand, Chuck, I'd hope you bring him in. Gateway Consultants, John Judd's here. We have Mike Seecamp from Seecamp Environmental. We have Ryan McSheriff from Red Barn Architecture. We have Luke Norton from Sanborn Head and Associates. And you have me. And that kind of gives you an idea as to what each of them can talk about and what each of them worked on as far as getting these proposals back to you. So the property has the following resource areas: land under the ocean, coastal beach, coastal dune, barrier beach, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Work is not being proposed inland under the ocean. It's only being proposed in the 4 ladder resource areas. This is the project site. Aerial view. I have slides for 107 in here. I'm just going to skip through these. So you'll see them, but we can ignore them until we go back. So the landward toe of the primary frontal dune. Resource area delineation. Flood zone information. And so here's the proposed work. Looking to demolish the existing 80-year-old cottage, abandon the previously granted relief, construct 2 new pile-supported single-family structures, and the pertinent facilities such as garages, decks, septic systems, and extending the gravel driveway to both houses. Of course, there's a bunch of mitigation plantings also proposed for this project. Here's the site plan. Again, I'm just flipping through. If you have questions, we can go back to them. These are the actual architectural plans, which normally we don't get into at the Concom, but because a big component of this is the elevation of these structures above the top of dune, we thought it was important to give you the full architectural plans so you can see exactly how these houses would sit high and above the dune. Again, here's 107. We'll skip through this, and if anyone has any questions on the next one, we can get back to these. And so here we have the summary of the project impacts. You can see from this chart what you have for temporary and permanent alteration within the Barrier Beach coastal dune, as well as what you have in the land subject to coastal storm flowage. And again, 105 is the only one of the 2 projects that has anything in the LSCSF. The other one's totally outside of it. This one has a bit of the house and a bit of the deck within it. And so we get into the performance standards, and we're not proposing any work on coastal beach. We're doing coastal dune work. So we go straight to 1028.3. And so you want to make sure at bottom that what you're doing within the coastal dune is not going to affect the ability of the waves to remove sand. Again, this work is all being proposed landward of mean high water, landward of the primary frontal dune, and landward of the velocity zone, both per FEMA maps and per the wave run-up analysis that was done independently for the site. We're actually improving the way in which the dune is going to function in that we're taking all this volume out of the dune where the existing structure currently sits, not just on top of, but actually down into the dune itself. That all comes out and is dune area that gets to be restored. The new houses themselves are elevated, and I think at their lowest point, they're 2 feet above the measured dune height. In several instances, they're several feet higher than just 2 feet above, but there's at least 2 feet of clearance everywhere. And again, considerably more clearance in many places. Again, this shows you how far back on 105 the house is now being situated as compared to the primary frontal dune. That's 107. We'll skip that. And so we have to figure out, are we going to be disturbing the vegetative cover to destabilize the dune? And so there's a net increase of almost 1,800 square feet of vegetative cover on the Barrier Beach and coastal dune. Any temporary disturbances will also be replanted. And again, we're only only property 105 is located in the LSCSF. So there's not going to be any shading under the house that's going to destabilize the dune itself. And it's the very back of the dune, not to regular wave action. And then again, as we talked about, we want to make sure that we're not modifying the dune form that would increase potential for stormwater flood damage. Again, we're elevating way above the dune itself. The primary frontal dune is being left alone. And again, nothing is, being placed down into the dune sand. Everything's coming up here to make sure that we are not interfering with the ability for the dune to function. And if anything, again, because we're taking that existing cottage out of the dune, hoping to make things better. Again, here's just some more plans of the dune formation and the piles as being proposed. And then again, we make sure you're not interfering with the lateral movement. There's 42 square feet of pile contact, I think, per house, basically. The driveway is already gravel and is remaining gravel, and that's considered a dune compatible material because it's not, you know, asphalt being paved into place and being locked in. And again, because we are so far up over the dune, the land migration of the dune as it needs to come in and come out can happen underneath the structures. You want to make sure we're not removing sand from the dune artificially. Again, anything that's excavated during construction gets retained on site and put back. Any fill material brought in, obviously, we expect the condition would be, it has to be compatible fill. And as I mentioned, one of the probably the biggest pieces of fill is going to be when you take that cottage out of the dune and get to fill that area back, that obviously will have to be material that is compatible with the dune sand. You also make sure that we're not interfering with bird nesting habitat. The house and septic systems are now located landward of the estimated habitat for rare wildlife area. That said, we have feedback from the NHESP on the previous design when the structures were within that area, and there were some conditions suggested in that letter when the houses were in the area. And even though the houses are no longer in the area, we would still accept those conditions as a show of good faith, despite being beyond it at this point. And this is just the map showing it. We don't need to worry about this standard because we're not doing anything that would apply. Same thing, we're not touching subsection 5. And then subsection 6, again, we're not having adverse impact on, adverse effect on habitat sites of rare species that we just talked about, but nevertheless, we'll take the conditions that the National Heritage folk suggested back when the houses were in the critical area. And then we have land subject to coastal storm flowage. Again, as you're all aware, there are currently no performance standards. However, LSCSF is considered significant to storm damage prevention and flood control. And so you go, okay, well, first off, only the house on 105 is the only one that is partially within the LSCSF. And again, because we are so high up over the dune, and we're meeting all the dune performance standards, you kind of understand that we're not going to be impacting storm damage prevention and flood control in that area. We're not going to increase the level of flooding. We're not going to redirect or channelize any flood flows. Again, the idea is that in the event of a major storm event, everything is going to function right underneath these structures. These structures are not going to be in the way or impede the natural course out there after they're constructed. And then we have a mitigation plan. We're doing the 2-to-1 mitigation. We have both American dune grass as well as several other species. As you recall from previous discussions, we originally came in looking to just do dune grass. And I think there was a request from potentially one of the commissioners and also I think from Beals and Thomas to vary that and not just have dune grass, but also have some other plant species included. We've done that here. These are just some of the examples of the plant species, what they actually look like. For those of you who don't have it memorized what each of these are, I certainly don't. So this is what these look like. So we say there's beach plum or pitch pine. This is what you're looking at. And so again, at the end of the day, we're looking to remove the existing cottage and replace it with 2 single-family homes, one on 105, one on 107, along with their pertinent improvements. Again, we are taking this thing landward of the primary frontal dune. We're meeting all the performance standards for coastal dune, and we are preserving all the interests as far as relating to storm damage, etc. So I think we've hopefully checked all the boxes on this long process. I'll thank you. And again, like I mentioned, the whole team of experts is here tonight. They can answer questions much better than I can if there's any technical questions that follow from this.
Okay, the first thing would be is public comment period. Anyone who wishes to speak for or against the project at 105 Winter Street may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 17 attendees, and there's one hand up. Anne-Marie Lindquist.
Hello, this is Anne-Marie Lindquist. I am at 101A Wingersheek Road. And the abutters have not, and neighbors have not seen these plans until this very moment, and they were presented very quickly. So I would hope that in this meeting, no major decisions would be made until the neighbors have an opportunity to actually look at the plans. That's my first comment. My second comment is that on these properties, there are dozens of majestic native pine trees. And I would encourage the Conservation Commission, if you've not already done so, to look at the property in person and document where those trees are, because as we know, there is really no replacing mature trees in our canopy, and no amount of beach grass mitigation can replace mature trees like that. So I certainly would really like to see them preserved and would hope that you all would share my view on that. Thank you.
What else, Chuck?
There are no other hands up at this time.
Okay. Want to move on to Commissioner roll call comment?
Here, Member Carpenter.
Yes, following on those comments, I would like Mr. Favazza to tell us about how many trees are coming down and how many are being replaced.
Okay.
Concerned about the trees, but I want to compliment them on moving everything back away from the dunes, which is very much appreciated.
Yes, DEP has commented, and they said that the project must incorporate conditions provided by natural heritage. The applicant must provide an alternative analysis to avoid permanent impacts to the coastal dune, and a sand compatibility report, such as a sieve analysis, must be provided to ensure that size, shape, color, and texture are appropriate for any fill material. My comments are that distance from the ACEC should be delineated on the plans, and there should be a 2-year monitoring for the mortality of mitigation plantings. And to protect the isolated wet areas from by the driveway from snow plowing, there should be a split rail fence installed along the driveway adjacent to the isolated wet areas, as well as a designated area for snow stockpiling. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd include NHESP conditions as special conditions. I'd like to see the existing trees shown on the plan. I also, I know we haven't talked about the ACEC upland edge boundary issue yet, but I think that should be shown on the plan as well. I don't know if it's already on there, but I think it should be shown on there. And if I'm anticipating an issue over the septic systems, has it been considered that for a shared system between the two properties? And if so, is that a possibility for that being located outside of wherever the ACEC line is drawn?
No
comment.
Jackson.
I concur with some of the preceding comments. In addition, I'd like some clarification. CZM had several comments, and I wasn't sure that all were addressed. That's it. Oh, no, it's not actually. I saw you were planting 5 pitch pines. I'd like to know how many are coming down. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Would you like to respond, Mr. Favazza? Yep.
Sorry, I couldn't get to the unmute button fast enough. I'll respond briefly, and then I think if John and Dwight are around, I'll have them respond in more detail. But real quick, I'll just put up the slideshow I have here, the neighbor concern. So there was a lot of discussion in prior meetings about the trees, seaward of the proposed structure. So you'll see, like, we've got 18-inch cherry here and 18-inch cherry here. I believe this pine tree was a big concern previously, and those are all shown on the plan. They're all seaward of the proposed work, and as you can see from the limit of the proposed snow fencing, nothing beyond these lines is going to be touched, right? And so as far as like the trees that I know the neighbors had spoken about previously that were all seaward of what I'm showing here, those are going to be left as they are. However, again, if either Dwight or John wants to talk about the trees, and then John, I suppose, you talk about the septic question that Commissioner Viteri had.
Okay, cue them up. Someone want to raise, who's coming, Joel?
Dwight has his hand up. Dwight Dunk, Epsilon Associates.
Voting in now.
Name and address for the record, Dwight? Hello, Dwight, can you hear us?
Yes, it was just changing me from a participant to a panelist, so it's taking some time to get loaded there. Thank you. Yes, my name is Dwight Dunk. I'm a principal at Epsilon Associates, a coastal wetland scientist with over 36 years of experience dealing with coastal permitting in Massachusetts and throughout the Northeast US. And I just wanted to respond to Commissioner Jackson's comment about CZM, their comments and how those have been addressed in this current filing. CZM, Beals and Thomas is the peer reviewer, and CZM had commented first about the primary frontal dune, asking that the primary frontal dune be delineated. We have delineated the primary frontal dune in accordance with the DEP CZM coastal manual. That's the common name for the document. Using those protocols, we included that memorandum as part of the notice of intent. There were some follow-up comments by CZM, and those are addressed in that. Basically, there were two items with that. One is, there's a question about trying to look at elsewhere along the beach for basically native or pristine dune, but all of Wingarship Beach is pretty much developed with properties on every lot, so it's hard to find much areas that aren't already affected by development. So we think what we're presenting here is a reasonable presentation or use of the protocol in applying our best professional judgment. The other comment that was addressed relative to the primary frontal dune was whether or not the dune has sufficient dune reservoir to withstand the waves during a 100-year storm event, a 1% storm. Sanborn Head was retained to do the modeling. So basically, the dune reservoir is that area of the primary frontal dune horizontally above the base flood elevation and the part of the dune that's seaward of the midpoint of the dune. If that's below a certain volume, which in the FEMA regulations is 540 or 550 square feet, but the policy is 1,100 square feet, then it's not considered robust enough to withstand those waves. Sanborn Head was retained to conduct the modeling. They basically use all of the same modeling as FEMA uses. They take that data, but rather than, when FEMA does that modeling, they do it along transects along the shoreline. So they're several hundred feet away from this site. So the modeling was done specifically at this site. The dune reservoir is below the threshold, so it is presumed to be eroded during a 100-year flooding event. So the intent there is, what is the wave run up during that storm? And does it extend further than the FEMA mapped boundary? Does it extend beyond the landward limit of the primary frontal dune? And that modeling showed that the wave run up does not extend beyond the limit of the primary frontal dune, and it's pretty much in line with the FEMA modeling, which really makes sense, because what this is saying is FEMA presumed that these dunes would be eroded during event, and their modeling therefore assumes that. So with that, the answering the CZM questions about the VE zone, which is the coastal high hazard area, and where you have a primary frontal dune, the landward limit of the primary frontal dune, when it extends beyond the VE zone, is considered the extent of the coastal high hazard area. So therefore, on this site, we're using the landward limit of the primary frontal dune as the limit of the coastal high hazard area. And both of the structures, the structure on 105 and the structure on 107, I know we're dealing with one at a time, are both landward of that primary frontal dune and therefore outside of the coastal high hazard area. So I think the modeling that was done by Sanborn Head answers the CZM questions to ensure that this project is outside the coastal high hazard area, and therefore it's on what we typically call back dunes, or dunes, as opposed to the primary frontal dune.
Okay, I'm going to follow up, and I admit I'm getting a bit out of my depth on this. So I'm hoping that layman's language will help, and I'm not sure whether you address these. Two of their concerns were that Transect 3 should have resulted in identifying the highest peak, resulting in the primary frontal dune over 60 feet further landward. And the other one recommends that you provided LiDAR at least a few hundred feet in both directions to contextualize the delineation, but you said you had no permission from landowners. Do you have a record of the landowners refusing permission?
We did not seek permission because it's private property, number one. Number two, those lots are also altered by human activity with structures on and close to the primary frontal dune. So the contention there is going where there aren't structures to try to see a pristine or unaltered dune, and we basically have structures all along this barrier beach in dune system. So it's our professional opinion, having run the model, that this is a good and accurate representation of the landward limit of the primary frontal dune. And the modeling by Sanborn Head, I think, is very definitive in that it shows that the wave run up, even during the 100-year flooding event, does not even extend, to this limit. So this is using this as the landward limit of the coastal high hazard area is a conservative approach here.
Okay, thank you very much. I think there were other questions and comments that were getting responses. I'm not sure whether the other one is doing it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, Dwight, I'm not sure if you want to tackle this, if we should have John. There was a question about, trees coming down. I addressed the ones that were seaward, like Sea Camp. That's the problem with this huge team, is that there's probably a bunch of people who can. John's got his hand up. So let's go.
I would defer the trees to John or Mike.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll also say, just, it's been proven that once you get past 15 minutes in any kind of presentation, your brain can't take too much of this information and keep functioning normally, meaning catch everything that's said. So we're going to have to keep these, if we're going to rip through all these people, I think we need to keep it to the bare minimum of information.
Got it.
Sure. I hear what you're saying, Mr. Chairman. I'll keep it brief. John Judd, for the record, engineer with Gateway Consultants, regarding the two questions regarding trees and ACEC. The first one, as far as the trees, there are no trees proposed to come down on 105A. 105B, initially that house location was supposed to be further toward the seaward side, but the new flood overlay regulations sort of forced us back outside the elevation 13 flood zone. So pushing it back required some some movement of the house into a grove of pine trees. So what we're going to do, I'm going to recommend to Joel and the team that we go out and locate each and every tree that's on that lot. And we can have that information for you at the next hearing. As well as the ACEC, as you know, we started that discussion a little bit earlier. And, you know, we're hoping to get some guidance on the ACEC layout, you know, as far as how that's going to be interpreted in the future and on this project, because of the situation where you have elevation 10 by definition, and then you have the GIS, which we all know is fairly rudimentary delineated, and then we have the whole question with the NAVD and the NGVD. So I'm not sure how the best way to arrive at that. And Chuck, you may have some thoughts after your research with DEP, but we're willing to work with the commission and try to resolve this on these projects and other projects going forward. In the past, we've usually relied on the GIS, and there's several lots along Wingershik Road that most of you are aware of. Chuck, I'm not sure if you're aware of them all, but they have a lot of those extend were built new construction septic systems for expansion and so forth. Dave, I know you're aware of them. And I can name off probably a half a dozen that are within 200 feet of elevation 10. However, the setback to the ACEC was interpreted from the GIS at that time. So it's not going to be resolved now, but I'm not sure if there's any comments from Chuck on that.
Okay, anything to add?
Yeah, I guess I had sent you guys some information in an email to try to get you up to speed on kind of where this discussion's been coming from. So basically, when you go back to the designation document for Great Marsh ACEC, you know, it describes the boundaries. And for the portion that's within Gloucester, you know, it extends to elevation 10, as shown on the appropriate USGS 7.5 minute series topographic map. It doesn't specify a date of that map. It doesn't specify a datum. And, you know, so I guess when I look at that, I think the appropriate USGS 7.5 minute topo map would be the most current. I had reached out to the ACEC coordinator with DCR, Nancy Putnam, and she had basically responded that she concurred that she basically concurred that, you know, it made sense to use the most recent topo maps and use elevation 10 contour on those topo maps, which is the newer datum. But in later conversations that she had with John, she did indicate that, you know, it wasn't something that DCR is going to make a call on. There's going to be something that's left up to the commission. I also reached out to Catherine Glenn, who is the North Shore Regional Coordinator for CZM. CZM used to be in charge of the ACEC program before DCR. Catherine had also responded, basically saying that you know, it made sense to use elevation 10, NAVD, the newer datum. But she also said that it wasn't a call that CZM or DCR would make, that it's up to the regulators, being the commission. So this conversation kind of started with a different project, but this is the first project that now came before the commission. It hasn't been an issue before because a lot of the places we've had are, Walker Creek and some of these other areas where the elevation rises a lot more quickly. And the issue down here is that, 1 foot of elevation can mean several hundred feet landward or seaward. I guess it's up to the commission, I guess, to determine how we want to interpret the ACC language. I've looked at all of the other towns and cities in the Great Marsh that have bylaws. The only bylaw that actually specifies it is in Ipswich, and they do specify the previous datum. But of course, their ruling is not, that just applies for Ipswich. It doesn't apply to the rest of the Great Marsh communities. And I also reached out to Suzanne Egan with the city legal department, and she also agreed that since no date was specified in the actual language laying up the ACEC, that it made sense to assume that appropriate meant the most current USGS map. So I guess, it's a question of where that line lies, and then that would also determine, based on the bylaw, there are some additional protections related to placement of septic within 200 feet of the ACEC. And so that's where, it's coming into question for these 2 projects, and there's going to be projects in the future down in Wingersheek probably have that same issue that would then have to request a variance if the higher elevation was deemed the appropriate one. So it's put a lot more projects within that 200 feet of the ACEC.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. So what I'm feeling for myself anywhere is I gotta spend a little more time looking at this stuff and understanding it in more detail, or I can make a decision. Why don't you do roll call comments? Chuck, see if commissioners have anything else to add at this point.
Sure. Member Sharp's here.
I think this needs to be continued.
Member Cook.
We're not gonna finish it tonight.
Sergeant.
I agree with the previous comments.
Everyone's here.
I mean, I agree. It should be continued. I would like to consider some of those documents too. I don't know if you had circulated those earlier, Chuck, but I don't think I'd seen especially the original proclamation. It's definitely an interesting issue, and it's definitely going to have a lot of impact. So I think it's worth our careful consideration of it. As concerns the current projects, I guess I'd like to see on the plans what the actual impact looks like on the ground for a comparison of both, the NAVD and the NGVD lines, just to see sort of, what are the stakes here. I think I have an idea of the stakes here. It might be the difference between citing a septic or not citing a septic in violation of our ordinance. But I'd like to see sort of where that fits on these plans that are in front of us. Yeah, I think those are my comments. I think I had something that I've forgotten it now. I do have one more. Okay. Sorry, I've remembered it now. So I would like to hear from, I think, Mr. Judd, I think you may be, as a surveyor, you may be more of the expert in this topic, but I would like to hear sort of the background and the difference between the 2 datums, and how they're calculated, and what accounts for sort of the difference between, 10 feet in one equaling 9.2 feet in the other, things like that. So you can speak to that tonight, or you can submit, something I think probably in writing for our consideration, as we sort of take the next couple of weeks to review.
Okay, what's next in the roll call? Chuck, what's after?
Sorry, roll call.
Yeah, you already were.
I
Peter's
think
done.
Mr. Sargent is next.
Yeah, Peter's done.
Oh. Yep. Well. Member Sargent.
Anything to add?
I thought Mr. Viteri talked after Mr. Sargent, but
Yeah.
Oh,
I agree with Mr. Viteri.
Member Gullah,
No further comments.
Member Jackson.
I also agree with Mr. Viteri. From the information that I read, the NAVD sounds more current, and certainly using the latest maps both makes sense to me.
Okay. To everybody. Mr. Pavaza, would you like to recap? Because I think we're gonna have to continue, obviously. Want to get into 107 as well, or?
Yeah, sure. So just the homework we're going back with is we're gonna come back with more precise inventory of trees on 105 that may be coming down as part of the house being moved back. And then we're also gonna submit site plans showing ACEC delineation, basically based on the way the commission has been using the GIS, as well as what it looks like using updated mapping, and then there'll be a discussion with the commission as to which line to use and what the impact of using either line is on this particular project, whether it's going to trigger variance requirements relating to septic systems or not.
That's it. That sounds about all of it.
Could I just bring up one more comment? I think some of these questions are pretty challenging for us. And I think we also at some point ought to consider continuing the third-party review if we don't feel that we can acquire the knowledge needed to make appropriate decisions. That doesn't have to be considered tonight. I just wanted to put it out there.
That's a good idea.
Good point that we should look at if we can't seem to get to a consensus, or even, like you say, to answer some of these trickier questions were over my head as well. So more information I can get, the more I can figure it out for myself.
Yes, I think there's some of the same,
Issues overlapping.
yeah, or at least the same components that have been brought up in previous ones. You know, still, you know, in some of these elevations, it looks like there isn't actually 2 feet of clearance above the dunes. You know, to me, it doesn't look like this is 2 feet above the dune. It looks like this slab for the ramp for the access to the garage is on grade. We also have, you know, cross beams underneath the structure that I'm not sure are allowing for 2 feet of clearance. You know, that to me looks like it's directly on the grade. You know, some of the calculations and stuff I have questions about. I think there's still many of the questions that were raised in the previous iteration of this that might be useful for the commission to have continued third-party review.
Gentlemen, anything else to add? Ladies? Are we going to move to continue for 2 weeks or more? Mr. Pavaza.
Well, I would certainly, although I'm usually not one to push for third-party review, if that's the way this is going and we're going to continue for some time, I would prefer the commission, you know, decide now if, you know, Beals and Thomas can be brought back in, because I'd hate to come back a month from now only to have the commission then say, you know what, I think Beals and Thomas should get involved. And so if we're thinking that's where it's going to go, I'd prefer to continue out for a month, knowing that part of it is going to be a charge to Chuck to get B&T back on board to look at all this during that month.
Good questions. Good. Commissioners, anybody have any thoughts? I kind of concur. I think we're going to end up down that road. It's just such a complex area that maybe we should look at, or at least entertain the possibility of third-party review. Any thoughts?
I think I think there are enough technical questions that really are above our pay grade. That we're going to have trouble resolving them. And I think they apply to both sites.
And I think we can
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
we'll get answers quicker for the applicant.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
other ways to fumble through this. It's just very complex.
It's very complex.
Do we have a motion?
Well, sorry, but one question on that. I mean, I generally am open to the idea of third-party review. I'm just wondering if, if Beals and Thomas has the right qualifications on this question. I don't know if they do or don't. I'm just asking if we need to find out, exactly what the question is being answered and what qualifications and what type of expert are we looking for to give an opinion.
Well, I think they have the context of the site. They've done a lot of work on this, and I think they probably have somebody within their firm that knows about these questions. That would be something to ask them. Perhaps on our end, we could get together a list of the questions that we have that we would anticipate third-party review being able to clarify.
I agree. Does that answer your question, Mr. Vavaza, or are you looking for more?
I guess all I was looking for was some definition for the commission to say, yes, we need a third party review, in which case, I think the suggestion would be ask BNT first, and if they say, yes, we can do it, I'd hope they'd be pulled on because of their familiarity, obviously, to the Commissioner Vitteri's point. If Beals and Thomas says, oh, this is outside what we usually look at, then obviously you'll need to request someone else look at that. But if that's the commission's preference, that would be agreeable on this end. I said I'd rather get it, agreed upon now so we can get them on board, so we're not waiting a month just to wait another month.
Sure. I think that's fair.
Do we have a motion?
I'm sorry.
We have a motion?
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve a third-party review for both NOI 0283006 at 105 Wingersheek Road and 0283007 at 107 Wingersheek Road for the purpose of clarification of technical questions.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook. Member Redlaw.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Vitteri.
Yes.
Member Bella.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Move to continue here.
Commissioner Jackson, you want to continue for a month, Mr. Favaza?
I think that'd be safe.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0283006 at 105 Wingersheek Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of August 21st.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Redlaw.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Vitteri.
Yes.
Member Bella.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0283007 at 107 Wingersheek Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of August 21st.
Charpentier seconds.
All Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook. Member Redlaw.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Vitteri.
Yes.
Member Bella.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. We'll see you in a month.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're down to the what's up minutes. Notice of intent 028. We have a DEP number for 131. Chuck?
Let's see. No NOI numbers yet.
Okay. So next up would be then 131 Wingersheep Road, Timothy and Elizabeth Allen Trust installation of 20-foot by 30-foot seasonal ramp in existing pedestrian pathway in Barrier Beach, Coastal Dune, Coastal Beach, land subject to coastal storm flowage. Mary Rimmer Environmental Consulting Inc. LLC represent.
Mary should be rejoining.
Good evening, it's Mary Rimmer from Rimmer Environmental Consulting, representing Timothy and Elizabeth Allen Trust. I believe they're also on the line here. And yes, as mentioned, we don't yet have a DEP file number, despite it being submitted by overnight mail more than 2 weeks ago. But I know that with the holidays, things got a little backed up there. So, and we also are awaiting comments from the National Heritage Program for this project. If I could share my screen, I'll just go through it quickly and understanding that we will need to be continued, but at least I can give you the quick explanation. I think it's a pretty straightforward project. Okay, hopefully you can see the screen now.
We can see it says Mary Rimmer, but I'm not seeing any.
Yeah, it hasn't come up yet, Mary.
Okay, it's like, I'm gonna stop share because it seems to be frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Always something, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, you in there now? Great. So this is the project site as of 2021. The beach, as you know, looks quite a bit different now. There's been considerable scour and there's a large scarp at this location. The site is, as I mentioned, in priority habitat, so Natural Heritage will want to weigh in. And this is a view from the seaward side, looking landward of 131 Wingersheek here, and the current access that's being used. It's obviously not a very safe access and not very good for the dune either. There was a set of stairs it's about 50 feet back from the dune, so you can see at one point there was considerable accretion in this area, and now it's going in the other direction back towards where the stairs were constructed years ago. And then I think what I'd like to show you is the site plan that was prepared by Gateway Engineering, showing the scarp at this location, and all that's being proposed is to use the same pathway that's there now and simply add an aluminum ramp 20 feet wide, 20 feet long and 3 feet wide with handrails and a small landing to support it. And it's proposed to be supported with helical piles. Is a design included with the notice of intent. Pretty simple ramp landing area to support at the edge of the dune, and then a ramp secured with stakes or piles at either end. This is an entirely seasonal structure, can be removed at the end of the beach going season and allow the dune to continue to accrete and reform as it would naturally. So it's a pretty low impact measure, and it's adjustable in terms of being able to reset it where the new dune face is in any particular given year, whereas a traditional boardwalk obviously is fixed in place and can't be easily moved. So this is a pretty dynamic beach system right now, and we know that we can expect likely to be further changes. So this is the approach that they would like to take. So I'll stop sharing and
Okay, I'll quickly open up the public comment. Does anybody wish to speak for or against the project at 131 Wingersheek Road? If so, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of the screen, *9 on the phone or handheld device.
We currently have 11 attendees and there is one hand up. Kathleen.
Hello, Kathleen, can you hear us? Hello, Kathleen.
She's muted.
She with you, your group?
No.
There you go. Unmute yourself, Kathleen. You can. Go, Kathleen. Kathleen, can you hear us? There she go. All right. By any chance, you know what this person's going to represent? Kathleen? Oh. Kathleen? No?
Kathleen, you're still muted.
Kathleen?
Kathleen, I'm going to lower your hand. If you are trying to speak, please raise your hand again. You have been muted and we can't hear you. Right, it's not going up. We do have a hand for Mr. William Cook. I think he wants to rejoin as a commission member.
Early.
Thank you, Chuck.
There are no other hands up at this time. Kathleen is no longer on the list.
Mr. Cook, you're back. Is everything okay, or? Are you still recused, Bill, or are you going? All right, I think we get the gist of it. We have a DEP. We're gonna have to continue anyways, Mr. Herman. So I think we get it. Unless you have anything to add from here on out.
Allow for commissioner comments.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Member Charpentier.
No comments.
Member Cook.
No comments.
Member Bradwell.
No comment.
Sorry.
I just want to make sure that that last helical pile that's put in is not too close to the end of the dune to create, damage to, the dune itself.
Okay. I think that we can show that on the site.
Member Thierry.
I don't know if this is feasible in terms of the design of what's being installed, but is it possible to remove all stakes seasonally when the ramp is removed for the season? And
Yes.
if that's okay, if that's the case, then I would add a condition that all the elements are removed seasonally when the ramp is removed, including all stakes that are in the dune.
Yep.
Member Villa.
No further comment.
Member Jackson.
No further comments.
Okay. So unless you can get, I still don't see it. So I guess we'll just continue for 2 weeks, Ms. Rimmer, is that okay?
That'd be fine. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028 unassigned DEP number at 131 Wingershik Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of August 7th, 2024.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Bradwell.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Thierry.
Yes.
Member Villa.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. So next up is our.
I guess since Mary is here, should we see if there's any updates on the Stanwood? I know Mary had requested continuation to August 7th for 6 Stanwood Point. Still waiting on some engineering plans. But since she's here.
Yes, thanks. No, that's fine. I I was told there was going to be a meeting today with Mr. Pellich and the engineers, and the engineers had to cancel for some reason. So there's been a holdup in getting the final plan from them. We're still working on that, but I'm hoping that it's just in a couple of days and we can submit that and move forward with this at the next meeting. And as far as 4 Stanwood Point goes, I think I had mentioned at the last meeting that there was some new legislation that was passed that will extend permits that were valid as of January 1st, 2023. And my understanding is that passed both the House and the Senate and is in committee right now for final signatures. So that should be coming down, and you may have some resolution on that at the next meeting as well.
All right, well, thank you.
But in the meantime, I've instructed the owner to not do any further work on that property until it's resolved.
That's appreciated.
Yep.
All right. I guess we can let you go though. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you.
All right, commissioners, anything to add? Chuck, Bill, was everything okay there? We lost you for a while and then you came back. You not hearing us? Is it me? Or?
We're hearing you, Rob, although it's hard to hear you.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's it. I've never been accused of speaking too soft, let me tell you. But it must have happened. Okay, I'll lean in more. All right, anything else to add, Chuck?
We still have the certificate of compliance, but I guess we do have somebody here to speak about the emergency certification that I'd mentioned earlier. Came in today. I issued it 115 121 East Main Street. She is on the call, so maybe we can bring her on to talk about that so she doesn't have to sit through the last issue of the certificate of compliance.
Sounds good.
All right. It's Marcy Pregent. Trying to promote her. I want to see that. Just allow her to talk.
Ms. Pregent, can you hear us? Ms. Pregent, can you hear us?
Trying to be a panelist, but
she muted herself. Unmute yourself, Marcy.
I guess maybe for expediency, I can kind of show you guys what I have here on my end.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you tell us what you can tell us? Oh.
So basically, it's a portion of the structure underneath the decking and the pier here is creating some safety issues. So they basically want to get in there to kind of stabilize the existing structure so they can get in there to kind of figure out what all needs to be replaced. So the emergency certification is for this preliminary work just to kind of stabilize it and make it safe to do the further investigations for what needs to be done. And once it's determined what all needs to be done, that'll come back as an NOI to go through the normal process of permitting. I make it a habit to not go under piers that might fall. So the building inspector did declare it to be an emergency. So
do we have any idea who the people are who are going to be doing these inspections? I get that information from them if you talk to.
Yeah, I mean there's an engineering team that's been doing some of the preliminary work, and I believe they're going to be the ones that are continuing to do that work. Okay. So they do have licensed engineers, structural engineers that are doing that.
Okay.
So I guess if you guys want to approve the emergency certification. And then, as I said, they will come back to file for a full NOI once they determine what all needs to be done to do a more complete repair.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the emergency certification for 115 to 121 East Main Street.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Redwall,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. And you had a COC that you wanted us to vote on?
We
Aileen Terrace?
did. Yes, so there was two different orders of conditions for that same property. But when they submitted for the COCs, they only sent us a request for one of them. They thought they'd sent both of them in. So the last agenda, we had a separate order of conditions that we approved the COC for. And so this one's coming back on this one, so.
Okay, and you said there were no issues.
There's no issues with those properties, no.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the request for a certificate of compliance 0282706 at 8 Aileen Terrace.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Bella,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Were we supposed to do something with 137 Wingersheek Road? That was on the agenda at one point and then it disappeared.
So that one they have appealed,
Yeah.
and so now that one's going to be going to court. So
So we don't need to refer it to legal?
we did that in the last meeting.
Okay, you did.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
And I had one other item. Did you have a chance to send out the Kim Smith letter?
I did forward that on to the commissioners earlier this week. I'm not sure. Well,
Okay. With apologies for extending the meeting, commissioners, Kim Smith, who is so active with the Piping and Clovers, had sent out a letter with 3 pictures showing the difference in the dune when it had been protected by the fencing in terms of huge amounts of restoration and growth of dune vegetation. And a new area up by Good Harbor Beach Creek has also begun to show signs because it's just recently been fenced. And she had wanted, I think, us to write a letter to DEP asking if the fencing could not be left in place to continue dune restoration. The difference is quite remarkable.
Interesting. I'm sure I could support that. I don't see a problem with that.
Do you want to do a roll call and then we can authorize Chuck to write a letter? Does that make sense to you, Chuck?
It does. And Devin and I, had tried to get similar, symbolic, stakes and rope up at Wingersheek Beach. There's a lot of new illegal paths going through the dunes. And the existing paths too are just, becoming widened kind of at the toe when people, instead of going straight down to the beach, are cutting across on an angle. And so we were, trying to get some of those areas roped off and, try to reduce the foot traffic through the dunes over there, and just haven't had much traction with mayor's office and DPW to get that to happen. So I'm curious if you
I
might
meant DPW. I didn't mean DEP, I meant DPW.
do it all the time. Yes, if you might want to include Wingersheek as well, I think that could help both those public beaches in the dunes.
Okay, Linda, do you want to make a motion? Did you want to go through commissioner comments about whether people agree or disagree?
Sure, Member Charpentier.
Yes. I agree.
Thank you.
Member Cook,
Yes, and I agree too.
Member Gradwell,
Yes, and I agree.
Member Sargent,
I'm an agreeable guy.
What kind of fencing? Is it just the kind of the metal stakes with the ropes, or is it the like snow fencing with the kind of that's more like denser, the orange kind of stuff, or wood paneling?
I think we'd envision just having the stakes and the rope, plow through some signs and stuff at the areas that have these illegal paths to say, not a path, or I think if you have more than that, when you start getting those higher tides, obviously that stuff can get washed away. So having a snow fence is probably not the best. There could be issues with the birds and the juvenile birds and stuff as well. Be able to access the feeding areas and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm in support.
Member Gullah?
I'm in support as well, yes.
And sounds like you're too.
Yeah, can we take that as a vote, or do we have to have a motion?
I don't know that we need a motion because it's not a official
No,
item.
we've all endorsed you, Chuck, for writing a letter to DPW about both Good Harbor and Wingershik on the symbolic fencing.
Okay.
And as one final aside, I was very surprised there was no mention in 105 or 107 Wingershik about providing paths to the beach. Are they coming back for? I wonder if they'll be coming back for that or what. That had occurred to me. Anyway, I'm through talking, guys.
All right. Anyone want to move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Do you have a
Good
second?
Oddball second.
Roll call, Member Carpenter.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Rodwell.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Terry.
Yes.
Member Gullah.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
I wasn't very enthusiastic.
I'm tired.
Good night, everyone.
See you
Good
next
night.
month. Good night.
Night, everyone.
Good night. I was sorry to hear about Devin leaving us.
Yeah, that's too bad. Did you see this coming, Chuck, or was it a surprise, or?
I've known for a little bit. I thought she was going to let folks know, so I don't want to jump the gun. But the official announcement went out today, so I figured I could tell you. But yeah, moving to natural heritage, I think hopefully she's happy there. But yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, you asked about minutes volunteers. The city in the past has paid for somebody to do the minutes.
Yeah, we used to have stenographers for most of our meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's something to ask about. Normally, that's something I'd leap on. I can't do it right now. I just can't.
As I said, I'm hoping she can jump on this round because she'll be back a couple days next week. Next meeting's in 3 weeks, so it buys us a little bit of time. Depending on how things play out, I might have time to do it, but it's just going to be me, and then we're back to 2 weeks between meetings. So
Yeah, you've got site visits and everything else to do. You shouldn't be doing the minutes. No,
Yeah.
the city should provide somebody to do that.
What do you want us
And
to give a pushback, Chuck? Let us
yeah,
know.
we're happy to help on this.
All right.
Without her expense, there should be, for salary, there should be plenty of money to pay somebody else to do it.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll call you guys to bring Buffalo.
All right. Good night,
right.
everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.